Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Barnstaple Fringe. Thank you for coming. There's so many of you here. It's really great to see everyone. We're going to be performing right here, kind of in the centre. So if you wanted to squidge in a bit, that's fine. If you want to stay where you are, that's fine. But this is mainly where we're going to be, right in the centre. Now this show is about Barnstaple and Pilton's history. And we are actually in the location where Barnstaple's history began. So it's strangely apt that we are doing this show with Castle Mound behind us. There's going to be loads of things that you do not know. There's loads of weird stories that we're going to tell you. Some of it very funny, some of it poignant. But I'm going to let the Green Man explain the show.
I don't mean to be rude, but you smell a dog, that's what it is.
Salutations to one and all. I am the Green Man, and I have been here forever. Since the first light to the first shoots of green, I have seen every sunrise and every growing moon. I placed 3 long stones in the Pilton area. This is the story of Pilton. But remember, history is written by victors. Anyway, let's explore this Pilton area and also the oldest borough in England, Barnstaple. Mamas, come forth. I said mamas, not mumblers.
Okay. Here come I, Mother, to tell the tale.
Let me stop you right there. We have not got time, but in comes I after every line. You are early man, you are Homo erectus.
Oh, I beg your pardon, I thought this was a family show.
Oh, for goodness sake. It's 300,000 BC, you are early man and you live in small families.
I am Grunt of the Homo erectus. We hunt in this area, we move with the seasons. We hunt mainly, at the moment, camels, where does that come from? Hippo and mammoths. Do you know, thousands of years ago, elephant bones were dug up in Trinity Street. Piece of king in the car park, and there.
Unfortunately, at some point, we wiped you lot out. I am a Neanderthal. No, not a Love Island contestant, but a different breed of human. We hung around this area in about 70,000 BC. We weren't much different to the early Homo erectus. We hunt and migrate with the seasons.
The next bit of history, from 120,000 to 70,000 BC, is white, like a videotape. Humans replaced Neanderthals. The world gets colder. And you were all thought of as hunter-gatherers.
Well, in 7,500 BC, flood levels and sea levels rose, cutting off Britain from the rest of Europe. But the Brexiteers were happy. They drove round the UK in a bus celebrating.
But that was short-lived, because a tribe from Brittany in France came over and made settlement just above the hospital.
We are the Dunmanai. We built a fort, but we're not aggressive. We are peaceful farmers. Dunmanai, people of the land. Everything is shared.
Are they? It's AD 43 and I am a Roman
from the 12th Battalion. I'll tell you what, our roads are a lot better than the rubbish that they turn out from southwestern highways. Anyway, we travelled from the southwest of England and we expected a fight, but we happily live alongside the Dumnoni. We trade together and we share land.
Unfortunately, thousands of years of peace were about to be disturbed as pirates started raiding the south coast in 285 AD.
I'm a Saxon.
I'm a Jute.
I'm an Angle.
Excuse me, but we have to leave. I'm afraid we've got a problem with the Goths.
Wait, you mean those weird, ill-looking people that wear dark makeup and long black clothes and listen to Morrissey all day?
Oh, no, not it. It's the Germans. They're attacking our Roman outposts.
Oh.
I don't know, but look, you'll have to sort out the pirates yourselves, I'm afraid.
Several hundred years of attacks from the Saxon pirates led to a call to be unified. In comes I, King Arthur. I left my round table at Tintagel to lead the fight of the Dumnoni and the Celtic Britons against the Angles and Saxons.
I think he won, Arthur, but it was such a long time ago that nobody really knows. What we do know is that the Saxons and the Dumnoni lived in peace for quite a number of years, sharing the land and coexisting. Unfortunately, this was from 500 AD to 750 AD. Unfortunately, in the 8th century, sometime in the 8th century, we know that the Saxon kings attacked. They defeated and subjugated the Dumnoni. A tun, that's spelled T-U-N, or a stockade farm, was built halfway down Pilton Street. Pilton is Saxon, just in case you didn't know, for a farm by a creek. In this area, the Northfield Lane and Green and Abbey Road area, a great field system was constructed.
The Saxons were not a particularly happy bunch, dividing Britain up into little kingdoms. The kingdoms fought each other, and they had a new foe to fear, the Vikings. Then, during the 8th century, the Vikings sacked Pilton. You're fired.
Regrettably, the beautiful ways of sharing the land, of cooperating and trading, were demolished by the Saxons. A lord would own the land, and you would have to work for that lord. Not only that, but at that time, ideological priests started to arrive, and they preached a doctrine in which everyone had to believe in the same religion. The days of the Dumnoni were over as the Saxons and the Christians sought to control the population.
Skull, skull, skull! Yeah, do you know what they call a disco band made up of Vikings?
No, what do they call a disco band made up of Vikings?
The pillaged people!
What happened to the Viking that was reincarnated?
Oh, he was born again.
Oh.
Of course, we Vikings, we considered Devon as something of a holiday excursion. We did most of our raiding up in the north of England, but every now and then we'd have a change of scenery. Come down for a bit of fresh air.
Yep, rode down to the coast of Durban, do some beer train, have a green tea, catch a bit south and back up north.
Well, we Vikings used to share the spoils between us fairly. Something of a cooperation of chaos.
King Alfred got fed up with the raids, and in 878 he made a pact with the Vikings. He brought 4 burghs. It was Exeter, Pilton, Hale and Lidford. That was in defence of Wessex. Under King Edgar, the town of Beardstaple was created by charter. Balport Street and the High Street. So, then the next king, King Athelstan, he was a great fan of the waltzers. So he granted the right to have fairs.
But great change was about to occur when William came over, invaded and defeated Harold at Hastings at 1066. You could say it was one in the eye for the Saxons.
Unfortunately for the working classes, they exchanged one person who exploited them for another with a more sophisticated system, the feudal system. King on the top, then the royal band who guarded the king's interests and enforced the laws, then the knights who fight for the king and monitor the villages, and then on the bottom the serfs.
What bearded the little blue men from the petrol station?
Serfs, not smurfs, the poor.
Under the Normans, the church took up power and lands. Judge of Totnes set up the priory of St. Mary Magdalene in Pilton in 1107. It had its own monks. They worshipped and tended to the land. It was also run by a prior.
In 1199, the monks took industrial action against the poor.
We want better pay. Sixpence a year to tend a leper. What does the prior get? He gets £2 per head. What does he do for it? Sod all. It's a disgrace.
It is not known how the monks fared, but they probably lost as the prior was all powerful.
Hang on, you haven't said anything about the recluse.
Hello, welcome to the Benedictine Broadcasting Corporation. You're first for news here in Pilton. Now tell me, why are you living as a hermit here in the Priory?
Leave me alone!
No, come here, tell me, what is your name?
Leave me alone!
Are you trying to escape the social media of the day, the illuminated manuscripts?
Leave me alone!
By the 1200s, Barnstaple was coming to its own. There was a cart on the mound on the market every Friday. A big farm was created in Pottington, and cloth and wool became an industry. At least one day one of the priors messed match.
For the purpose of TikTok, this reenactment is for entertainment purposes only.
Please, I'm asking you, give me some alms.
Make your prayers to God, and your answers will be received.
My harvest has failed, and my children are starving.
Then you must pray harder. God will provide. Now go away, I've got accounts to count.
Please, Your Honour.
I have spoken.
I took him at his word. God will provide. So I snuck into the priory when no one was looking. I found the ceremonial ring. So I took it, crept out, made it very careful, made sure I wasn't seen, wrapped it in some clay and buried it under a marked tree. So I'll sell it to a passing tradesman later on.
So, what happened?
Unfortunately, I died. And my wife and children died soon after. But 600 years later, in 1847, it was found in the nursery end of Pilton. That's a fact.
That wasn't the only big crime in Pilton at the time. Did you hear of the murder in Ladywell in 1238?
Brother John from Totnes was sent to investigate.
I was dispatched to Pilton Priory to investigate the incident. Eva de Chow's lifeless body was discovered in the Priory grounds. But Eva de Chow's was a South Devon woman. Brother, would you tell me what she was doing here?
Eva Chow was booked into the priory for a night's bed and breakfast.
Was she alone?
No, she was with a man who we thought to be her husband.
It was discovered that he was not her husband.
It wasn't me. She eloped with a man called Henry Le Ambler.
Yes, I did spend the night with the lady in question, but I did not murder her. I left early for business in the morning. She stayed home.
Henri, this is all very tawdry. Are you sure you did not tire of the affair and kill her in a brutal way?
I loved her. I wouldn't do it.
In this case, Ralph de Chows, could it be that you killed her to hide your dishonour?
I never left South Devon.
Ah, but you could have employed a wastrel to do the deed for you.
I wouldn't do that. I knew of the affair. I would not kill her.
In that case, brother, is it possible that you and the other monks here didn't wish the God's holy place to be associated with a bawdy house and a place of dirty weekends in Pilton?
Yes, adultery is a sin, but so is murder. We would have kept things quiet. We are men of God. Murder is not our thing.
In that case, Henri de Ambler, I believe that you disappeared after the act. I put it to you that you are the most likely suspect.
Hang on, there are a couple more theories, you know. First of all, Eva and Henri, well, they might have actually bumped somebody else off, swapped clothes with Eva. Nobody would have known because the monks only got a little bit of a look at Eva, and actually she got buried a couple of days later, and they could have just scarpered off together. Of course, the other theory is that poor old Eva might have just fallen down the hill and bumped her head on the ladywell, and then it was just good night, sweetheart. But unfortunately, we're never going to know, because the only DNA they had in those days was dung needs aerating.
Well, the 1300s were a fairly miserable time to be alive. Edward III had declared war on France and had raised taxes to pay for it. Barnstaple and Pilton were having a battle of supremacy going on, and Barnstaple Market was taking away money generated to the prior. Now, the prior was a religious leader in the area at the time, and also the lord of the manor. The wool trade was key. Farmers were taking their sheep to Barnstaple Market instead of Pilton. That had to stop.
Now, I need to find a way to maximise my profits. Now, I had a dream about taxation. There are so many taxes that we could employ. Building tax, cooking tax, council tax, death tax, excise tax, fishing tax, goods and services tax, lighting tax, liquor tax, mortgage tax, marriage tax, pension tax, vehicle taxes. Tax his land, tax his bed, tax the table from which he's fed. Tax his work, tax his pay, gets paid peanuts anyway. Tax his cow, tax his goat, tax his pants, tax his coat. Tax his car, tax his gas. We'll just find more ways to tax his ass. Tax all he has. And then let him know that we will not stop till he has no dough. And when he screams and hollers, just tax him some more. Well, tax him till he is good and sore. Tax his coffin, tax his grave, tax the sod in which he's laid. And when he's gone, we will not stop. We will not relax. Because that's when I can apply that inheritance tax.
The prior's plans to raise taxes and exploit the wool trade were undone by a living nightmare from the east. It came across Asia in the 1300s, then it went through Africa, through the trade routes and into Europe. The Black Death rode in. Now it arrived in Pilton and Barnstaple around 1348 and again in 1361. Symptoms were swollen glands in the neck and lumps and bumps all over your body. If you lived to the second day, you got gangrene of the throat and lungs, terrible chest pains, vomiting up blood. Most people died by the end of the third day. In fact, half the population of the UK died from it. Dear.
We are the flagellants. We are punishing ourselves as it is God's wrath. He is angry with us. It is God's plague.
They thought it might help, but unfortunately, half the working population had died by then and there was no one left to tax. The prior had to rethink his tax plans.
Not much happened in the 1400s as the word recovered from the Black Death. The Posh got a bit anxious that nothing was happening, so two people fought over the throne. Richard I losing the War of Roses to Henry Tudor. At least one day won the prize, Mrs. Matt.
Hello, where are you going?
I'm off to the beach on the square.
A beach on the square?
Oh yes, twice a day. The square is a beach. There are two raised paths that can be used at low tide. One goes to the Long Bridge, the other goes to the South Gate. I swim there every summer.
Right. Oh yes, do you know what? I've just remembered. There was a quay on the Strand. Ships used to come in, there used to be rope makers' inns and shops. And then of course there was Maiden Street. It was a different kind of takeaway in those days. Then there was Cross Street or Crock Street for the potters. And then of course there was the High Street. You know, thatch buildings, lovely cobbled streets, an open sewer ran right down the middle of the road and out onto the Strand. Pigs ran up and down it. Do you still fancy that swim?
Oh, I'll keep my mouth closed.
It was a time of great religious change and Lutheranism.
Oh, I love that Idris Elba. I've got a picture of him here.
Idris Elba? Oh, no, it was about the rejection of the governance of the Catholic Church.
I'm Henry VIII, I am. I'm Henry VIII, I am. I had to marry my brother's widow, Catherine. And then, my old man, Henry VII, died, and I became king, Henry VIII. That's how it works, you see. Anyway, one thing followed another.
But I was obsessed.
Oh yes, I was obsessed with having... Oh, no, I missed a bit out. Thank you. Catherine and I had a baby. We called her Mary. But I wasn't really that bothered. I was obsessed with having a son and lots of as your father. Anyway, I thought that God was punishing me for marrying that old baggage. And on a lighter note, I really fancied one of the ladies in waiting. Anne Boleyn was her name. Oh, she was a strumpet. But do you know what? Charles V, Pope Charles V, my father's cousin, believe it or not, refused my reasonable request to get a divorce. I, of course, took the ump majorly at that and declared the act of supremacy. And a bit like the Germans, I rejected the teachings of the Holy Roman Catholic Church. Yahoo to you lot. Anyway, where do we go now? Oh yeah. I set up the Church of England, I did. I had another baby girl, Elizabeth, with Anne B. And then, after a few more wives, but we'll skip over that bit, I had a baby son. Oh, he was a delight. Edward. Anyway, when I got rid of the Roman Catholic Church, I was able to seize all their land, power and riches. So what I did was I disbanded the monasteries, and the Pilton prior and all these monks got kicked out. Get out of my priory, baldies!
Then in 1548, a priest was put to death in Pilton under the new king, Edward the Sixth.
I, Sir Anthony Kingston, will now pass sentence. How do you plead?
I reject this court and this blasphemy. The only Bible I recognise is that of the Holy Catholic Church. So burn in hell, you Protestant scum.
Do tell it as it is. No, in all seriousness, you will be hung at the bottom of Pilton Street, and your body will be hung up on the gibbet for all to see, set an example. Take him away.
When Edward VI died, his sister Mary took over. She tried to return the country to Catholicism, but she only lasted a few years. Then Elizabeth came to the throne. Then Elizabeth and Mary Queen of Scots slagged each other off on Facebook, trying to get supporters. Eventually, Elizabeth won, and Mary Queen of Scots had to face the big chopper. This was not Tinder. She had her head severed from her shoulders. Then, just to cheer people up, plague returned in 1580 and kept on returning until around about 1646. Watchmen were employed on the roads and streets around Barnstaple and Pilton.
Halt! Have you got the plague?
No.
Okay, you can come in then.
Thanks.
You stop there and turn around. We ain't having anybody with symptoms.
I think it's asthma.
That hasn't been invented yet. Big on.
Then in 1588, Queen Elizabeth wanted ships and men to go to war at sea with Spain. 5 ships left the Great Quay in Barnstaple: the Dudley, the God Save Her, the Tiger, the John and the Unicorn.
Why do we hate the Spanish?
I don't know, is it something to do with a timeshare scam?
Yeah, I think I've worked out why Spain is so much better than us at football.
How so?
Because no one expects the Spanish in position.
How many Spaniards does it take to change a light bulb?
Just one.
Then, in the 1600s, there was a terrific amount of turmoil during the century. First of all, Elizabeth died in 1603, leaving the throne clear for James I. When he died, his son, Charles I, took over. Now, he had a real superiority complex. This led to civil war. Now, in 1628, 2 vicars had a fight in Pilton Church over the pulpit. John Cann from Pilton and Martin Blake from Barnstaple.
Takes heed of his stilted morning prayer. This man is petulant and wicked. I shouted down his base courage. Get back to Amsterdam, Cann.
You are a pluralist, unworthy of credence, a base knave and an apparition. You had a knave in Raleigh Mill. You had a wench as well, upon the master's bed, and drank wine.
Ooh, fight! 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 Hey, 20 ducats on Banger Blake to win. Here, do you want to hear a physics joke?
Yes, we do.
Higgs boson particle walks into a church. Vicar says, "We don't want your sort in here." Higgs boson particle says, "You can't have mass without me." Oh, suit yourself.
Padre, vicar,
No.
Pope,
No.
for I have synonyms.
Synonym.
Then Parliament and King went to war.
I don't understand what's in it for me. I am a villager in Pilton and I have family in Barnstaple. Who do I support?
Charles I is God's representative here on English soil. He'll rule as he sees fit. You are lucky to be English.
I don't feel lucky to be English. I live in a hovel. I'm taxed to the hilt. I don't feel anything works for me.
Follow us, brother. Us comrades are going to build a bright new England.
Oh,
In which Parliament will support all the people and everyone will have a voice.
I have heard that there's a lunatic element of people with extreme religious views. Won't that be a factor?
Oh, don't believe everything you hear. It'll be brilliant in our new England. Everything will be fine.
So Barnstaple and Pilton, on the whole, supported Parliament. Cloth taxes had affected people's views, and that was following on from the Dutch War taxes. Barnstaple and Pilton changed sides many times between 1643 and 1645. Royalist troops sacked Pilton in 1645. King Charles I hid in Barnstaple High Street in a house. Liston Street saw a major battle, and there are still bullet holes in the almshouse walls. Then Cromwell won in 1647, Charles I was beheaded, and England became Puritan.
Well done, Mr. Roundhead. I hope my lot improves.
You need to live a godly life. Your days of decadence are over.
Decadence? The pigs have a better life than me. Life became intolerable. Everything was a sin against God. Spies were everywhere. People were accusing each other. Drink, festivities, gambling, singing, dancing, pantomimes were all banned. There was no jewellery, no colours. Life was dull. Everything was religious doctrine and intolerance. There were people being hanged in the high street, and heads were put on poles where the corner house is now. The working classes had it worse under the Puritans. If you could believe anything could get worse.
Then, not satisfied with making people miserable in England, Cromwell went west to Ireland, where he killed women, children and priests, locking them in churches and burning them alive.
Nice.
Then the Great Plague came towards the end of the century, in which 100,000 people died. Towards the end of the century, Charles II died. Religious intolerance began again under James II. In Joy Street, a John Gay lived in 1683 and went to school in St Anne's Chapel in Paternoster Row.
Hi, I'm John Gay. Can I play with you? Of course, John. We're off to a smallpox party. You can come. It's at our house in Bradford.
What are you two up to? I'm the Pilton Constable. What are you doing in Pilton?
I was just playing in the stream.
Ah, so you're not from Pilton. Was your father from Pilton?
No, he's from Barnstaple. He works in Barnstaple.
Then be gone, John. We don't want any loitering about or non-Pilton people in Pilton. What about you?
Yes, I live in Pilton. My family's from here.
Oh, right. So you look like you're over 7. In which case, you're going to be an apprentice. And it's 21 for a woman and 24 for a man before you finish.
So effectively, you can sign me to like a slave ring.
Yep, suck it up.
Will I get to meet Anne Sugar in the boardroom?
No, but you get to meet the boot of my toe.
In 1685, Barnstaple accepted some refugees from France.
for the large noses.
Huguenots, not huge noses. During the 1700s, life became even tougher for the poor. Cheap wool imports from Ireland hit by trade in Barnstaple and Pilton. Then the Industrial Revolution and Yorkshire mills killed it stone dead. Barnstaple had to expand its prisons and workhouses. But it still had a healthy trade with the New World, with tobacco coming in and cloth going out. However, the 1700s were the time of those two lovable rogues, Thomas Benson and Tom Faggus.
Hello.
Oh, yeah.
I'm Thomasina Bimbo. I'm an influencer from 2024. Look at me. Smile. I've got it all going on. I've got the trout pout. I've got my Brazilian bum lip. Got my turkey teeth and my aunt has it. Follow me. Follow me.
I didn't call you. Please go.
Oh, sorry, darling, but you know, girls got to make a living. Now, here's a smile.
Now, we have two nominees for the Rogue of the Century. On my left we have Tom Faggus, and on my right we have Tom Benson. Please put your cases for the awards, gentlemen.
I'm Tom Faggus, the Highwayman. I live in the moor but do my business at the Bull Inn at the crossroads of Boutport Street and Vicarage Street. I was a type of Robin Hood. I stole from the wealthy and gave to the poor when I could. I was too quick for most. After Barnstaple Fair, the police had me trapped on the Long Bridge, approaching me from both ends, so I jumped into the tour to escape. I mysteriously disappeared, but in the end I escaped and did not meet the noose.
Tom Benson, wheeler dealer from Biddeford. I was a merchant. I was a ship owner. I was the High Sheriff of Devon, and I was the MP for Barnstaple. I did trade with Portugal and other places. I was a legitimate businessman, but I was also a smuggler. I had a government contract. They asked me to ship convicts out to the New World. I shipped them out all right, all the way to Lundy. Well, they got them off the mainland, didn't it? So what were they moaning about? In the end, they did catch me, however, for tax evasion. But I was too clever for they. I scarpered off to Portugal.
I vote the winner of the North Devon Rogue of the Century, Tom Benson.
Yay!
Wheeler dealer of Derby. Now, we now come into the 1800s. In this time there were great changes, but life was still tough for the working classes. Women were arrested in 1801 for a fight in the market. Meanwhile, the Chartists were fighting for the vote for the common man. But we had several changes of the head of state during this time. George III, popular. George IV, fat and unpopular. Then there was William IV, briefly. Then in 1837, Queen Victoria took over. However, in Pilton, there were some colourful characters appearing. We had Saki's aunts and Tapai Thomas. Now, Saki's aunts could have been something from a Roald Dahl book. They were Charlotte and Augusta. And Lord knows how H.H. Munro became a famous satirist under their parenting.
Don't play there. You'll mess up the glass. And take that wool away. It's Sunday. There shall be no toys or books on a Sunday, on the Sabbath. Now, get back. No, I can't be looking after you. I have to be in Pilton Church this morning and this afternoon. I bet you've been eating something unusual, haven't you, for this behaviour? Children need bland. Bland is best. Now go back inside the house. I shall be late for work.
I suppose if I stay in the garden, she won't see me.
You boy, what are you doing? How many times have I told you not to play in the garden or the fields? Fresh air is bad for you.
Saki eventually escaped his aunts.
No, wait a minute.
Oh, sorry. Carry on.
Rules are rules. I've got to punish you. I was going to get you a ticket to the circus for the grand opening of the new Rock Park, but no, you won't be going.
But Aunt Augusta, Aunt Charlotte said I could play here. She said so before going to Pilton Church.
That Harridan, what does she know? Pilton Church is for the villagers. I go to the High Church in Barnstaple. Now get inside, and don't you go touching those curtains or shutters. Fresh air is bad for you.
Well, Saki eventually escaped his aunts and had a successful literary career. Unfortunately, in 1916, he was in a World War I trench, lighting a cigarette, when a sniper's bullet took him. But meanwhile, in Pilton, another character was making his mark. Tape-Eye Thomas. Now, Tape-Eye Thomas was a successful businessman, a successful undertaker, in fact. He had a secret weapon for getting business before his rivals. His wife.
Knock, knock. Oh, hello. I'm Mrs. Thomas. I live just down the road. I bought this egg custard tart on account of her convalescence. I've been ever so worried. Would it be okay if I went up to see her?
No, not at all. How kind of you.
Oh, Mrs. Thomas, how lovely to see you. I'm sorry I can't get up.
Oh, no problem, no problem. How have you been feeling?
Not well. I'm not well at all. I don't think I'm long for this,
Oh, I'm sure you'll be fine. I brought you this parish magazine to pass the time.
Oh, thank you.
If you look on page 14, you may see that there's an article there saying that Barnstaple may soon have a railway that runs out to Linton.
Oh, let me just put my glasses on and turn to the gas light so I can read it better. Do you mind if I turn my back on you for a moment?
Not at all. Bye-bye. Just thought I'd pop in and see you.
Thank you for coming. It's lovely to see you. You are a true friend.
Well, the legend of Tape-Eye Thomas went on till the 1950s. Mrs. Thomas would visit a person close to death, take their measurements and share them with her husband, who would then make a coffin to the exact measurements and budget of the person. The Mrs. Thomas began to be seen as an angel of death if she came calling with an egg tart. Now, meanwhile, over in Ilfracombe, an exchange student was causing trouble.
Hey! Stop that! My dad owns those huts. He likes to rent them out.
I do not care who your father is or who you are. I will throw stones at who or what I like.
Hey! Stop throwing stones or I'll punch you on the nose.
Do you know who I am? I am Willem, eldest grandson of Queen Victoria.
Yeah, well, I'm the Queen of Sheba. I was still going to punch you on the nose, but I don't really want to box someone with an afflicted arm, but...
How dare you!
Yeah.
Oh.
Ha. Take that.
Excuse me.
Let that be a lesson to you. We are done.
No! We are not done. You English swine! I will have my revenge on you and your poxy little country.
Wilhelm. He was obsessed with building a German empire and sea power. He went to war with his Russian and English cousins in the royal families. Lord knows what would have happened if that encounter with Alfie Price had gone differently.
You just can't get the staff anymore, can you? The next 124 years involve history being passed down by word of mouth and through memories. Great-grandparents, down to grandparents, and then to us. 1900 to 2024 was a period of war. The Great War, the war to end all wars, or as we now know, the First World War, started in 1914. And just like the wars of the past, people thought it would be over by Christmas. Men rushed to sign up as a result of General Kitchener's poster campaign. You know the one, your country needs you. Pilton had its own band of brothers, the Darches. 6 sons: William, Albert, Walter, Charles, Reginald and John. All 6 sons sent to fight in foreign fields. William and John joined the Marines and fought with distinction throughout World War I. They even continued their service until the 1930s, and we thank them for that. Reginald and Charles were not so lucky. They were pensioned out, invalided out of World War I, and suffered terribly as a consequence of their injuries for the rest of their life. We also thank them for their service.
I am Private Walter Darch. I had a wife called Anne, and we lived at 58 Litterbourne. I fought in Egypt and then was sent to France. I nearly made it, but I died of my injuries near Rouen in 1918.
I'm Private William Darch. I worked at Pilton Cabinet Works and married Ethel May Grayton. I lived at 26 Pilton Street. I played whist in the local clubs and played football for Pilton Yeovil FC, which became Barnstaple Town Football Club. I did a tour of India and saw such amazing places, so different from Barnstaple. I died in Bowser in Iraq of malaria and yellow fever. It wasn't just the birds that killed us. The expression used was lions led by donkeys. Our generals, like Haig, were from a horseback era and totally unsuited to modern warfare. The soldiers from both sides stood no chance in this madness. We were both cannon fodder. A Maxim machine gun could fire 10 bullets per second, and the shells didn't get you, the mustard gas would. If you had PTSD and felt like you could fight no longer, you were shot for cowardice. 360 people that we know of were shot for cowardice by the British, many of whom were under 16 years of age.
1, 2, 3. When this lousy war is over, how happy we will be when I get my civvy clothes on. No more soldiering for me. No more church parade on Sunday. No more putting for leave. I will kiss the sergeant major. How I miss him, how I'll grieve.
If I should die, think only this of me, that there's some corner of a foreign field that is forever England.
8.5 million people were killed during World War I. Those young men, lucky enough to survive, faced a second hazard. It appeared in 1919, Spanish flu. It targeted the young, the fit, and the healthy. Oh yeah, Back in Germany, reparations were imposed on the country as a result of starting and finishing the war. This caused much hardship and much resentment, and it led, in 1939, to the start of World War II. Meanwhile, back in Pilton, a man is on trial for giving away a pint of milk.
Not only a poultryman, you are accused of selling a pint of milk not under the guidance of the Food Committee to a woman not registered. How do you plead?
I'm so sorry. I meant no harm. Yes, I suppose I do plead guilty. Mrs. Dick had a very sick son who, due to the rationing, was not thriving, so I gave her a pint of milk. I was only trying to help.
I, Gerald Rogers, accept your plea of guilty and fine you 5 shillings for selling not under the guidance and 5 shillings for selling to a non-registered customer. Case closed.
So far in the 2000s, the main historical event, has been COVID. Just like the plagues of the past, it spread from the east and arrived when there was a 20 in the year. But I'm not going to explain anymore. I'm going to leave that to a local lad, a lad from Exmoor, Boris Johnson.
So, some people have died at a Chinese market. Now, we've seen those places on Wicker's World. Not exactly hygienic, what-o? Some Chinese people have gone on holiday to Italy. What an amazing country. Fabulous food, experiencing that Dolce Vita, drinking in the city squares, blotto. Now, Italy's gone into full lockdown. Now, this is a type of curfew. No one's allowed to leave their homes. That's very exciting. It's very European. You wouldn't see that in Brexit Britain. No, the show must go on. We'll let thousands of Spanish fans fly in for the Champions League final. 600,000 crammed into Cheltenham Festival. No problem. It's business as usual, Britain. Boulder Dash, no. I will infect myself live on television. Nothing more than a common cold. There is absolutely nothing to worry about. So, apparently there is something to worry about. So, not infecting myself is probably a good idea. It's not business as usual. So, our assessment. We'll put our foot on the pedal now that the damage has been done. Of course, we do not want to follow New Zealand's lead. No, sir. We want herd immunity. We're not closing borders. We'll let nature pick off the weak. And we must put a ring of steel around our NHS. To that end, we will, every Thursday, 8 p.m, stand on our doorsteps and clap. We also need to lock everything down. So, stay at home, protect the NHS, save lives. Stay alert, protect, do what you like. We're going to control the virus and we're going to save lives. Hands, face, space. Yes, you may leave your home 1 hour a day, so long as you are wearing a face mask and gloves and do not come into contact within 2 meters of any other person. Although a cheeky hug here and there won't hurt. Right, no, absolutely no hugging. In fact, not allowed to come into contact with anyone outside of your bubble. We must control the virus. Now, don't worry if you don't have your own PPE. You can make your own. Blue Peter styley. Our NHS staff are rising to this challenge as we speak. quality PPE is just 1 week away. So, we've bought some tat from Turkey, and Michelle Moan has bought thousands of ineffective PPE due to her having a contract signed due to her being a donor to my fine party. Never mind, we'll make do and mend. At least social care is coping. You're ahead of me. Social care isn't coping because we left them to fend for themselves. In fact, we sent thousands of infected COVID patients back into care homes. It's the I am method. We'll lock them in and we'll see who survives. It's a noble choice. The economy is struggling, people, so we need you to eat out to spread it about. Eat out to help out. So we must control the virus, but we must get life moving. So, if you must stay at home, please stay at home. If you can go out, then keep watching Joe Wicks and visiting our 2-metre gap supermarkets. It is essential to keep this country safe that we all follow the rules. So, my chief advisor, Dominic Cummings, has gone to Scotland to have his eyes tested. This was essential, even though everybody else has to stay within a 1-hour radius of their homes because his local Specsavers was closed. Yes, well, we have been having essential lunches and dinners at number 10. It was essential that we had a table full of booze, a DJ, and a dance floor where I could grope the young political advisors. It was essential for morale. Now, well done, Britain. We have passed this test. It is time to move on. And I do not want to have any more namby-pamby, mumbo-jumbo mental health nonsense. In fact, my new slogan, get it up, Britain. Good night.
And so, we are up to date, and our show is nearly done. I'm the Green Man. I'm all powerful, I'm all seeing. I know what will happen in Pilton and Barnstaple in the next 3,000 years, but I'm not going to tell you. One thing we have worked out, though, is that in recent years, new discoveries of ancient civilizations in Turkey and North America, dating back to 11,500 BC, have been made. And maybe, just maybe, it's time for our local history to take a reset, to look at itself again. Because it's folly to assume that nothing happened in this area before BC 700. In that time, our country has become infected by greed, avarice, and the thirst for power. The monarchy, the upper classes, the church, still hold the sway in our land. The poor have remained the poor since the time of the Mumm and their subjugation. But there is hope. There is always hope. You have to look beyond the mainstream. You have to fight injustice. Question what you are told. Follow your heart. Listen to your heads. And perhaps, most importantly, up the Pilton, up the Barham, mummers to me.